What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to compare fairing. So I've got the Lowrider ST, a Road Glide, and a Street Glide. These are the three fairings that Harley Davidson offers. Now this one is fairly new. For a long time, Harley Davidson has just had the Road Glide or the Street Glide fairing, Batwing fairing if you will. But they added this thing last year and I'm a big fan. Let's jump into it. All right, so jumping into things. First of all, there has been a long, ongoing debate about the two of these bikes, the Street Glide and the Road Glide. Which one handles better? Which one has the better fairing? I don't think we'll ever agree on that. We'll get into it a little bit in this video, but if you want to know my full thoughts on these two, I have a video down in the description where I talk about that exact thing. But starting in the 2022 year, Harley Davidson introduced a brand new fairing to the lineup, and I am a big fan. I was able to get one of these bikes when I was out in California, put about 750 miles on it in 3 days, and absolutely loved it. Now this happens to be the El Diablo, one of the limited edition bikes, but other than paint and a few things that we'll talk about, it's the same exact fairing as the regular ST model would have. So to kick things off, we'll talk about these two, and that's because these two have the fixed fairing, meaning that the handlebars turn inside of the fairing. As you can see, the fairing is straight on both of these models as the wheels are turned, and then on your Street Glide, the fairing turns with it. Now the thing people talk about a lot is the weight on the handlebars. So as you can see on this Lowrider ST, the fairing does not mount to the bars, therefore the weight of the fairing is not on the bars. Same thing will be true for the Road Glide, but not true for the Street Glide. So you do have all the internals for your infotainment system, all your stuff there, headlight, everything will add weight to that fairing. It's a little bit more than you think it would be, but that said, I have never noticed a Street Glide feel heavy when I turn the bike. It still moves effortlessly. I mean, as most of you probably know as motorcycle riders, you're doing a lot of leaning, especially at speeds, man. Like you barely touch the handlebars and you're turning in the direction you need to go. So, although that point is true, you don't have the extra weight on the front end. I've never found it to be a big benefit. So going back to the Lowrider ST, as you can see, there is no infotainment system on here, nor is there the ability to put that on here. Now you will see on this bike, it comes with Rockford Fosgate audio right there. The El Diablo model comes from the factory with that, but if you buy a regular Lowrider ST, that's a $1,000 upgrade. It just comes with like a nice smooth finished plastic like there. This is designed to plug straight into that. It's not exactly plug and play, but it's something that most people should be able to do. Now you'll see on your Road Glide model, same thing. You got two speakers in the fairing, but you have the addition of the infotainment system as you do on the Street Glide. But you'll notice the gauge layout is a good bit different. So on your Street Glide, all your gauges right there across the top. On the Road Glide, they put them down lower and the screen is up above. Now I'll hop on both of these bikes and kind of give you a first-person perspective as to what that looks like and why that's important. All right, so sitting on the Road Glide, you'll see that, I mean, even at 5'11", if I'm sitting upright, I cannot reach the infotainment system without leaning forward about 4 inches. Now that's okay because everything you can do by touching that screen, it is a touch screen, you can do with the controls on the handlebars down here and right over here. So it's not that important. I actually like this better because you never take your hands off the bars, but some people just like to use the screen, so that is worth noting. Now we're on the Street Glide model and you'll see sitting straight up, I am able to touch the screen with no trouble, but again, same exact layout to operate everything from your handlebars. Guys, these two bikes, the Street Glide and the Road Glide, are identical in every single way except for the fairing. And yeah, the Street Glide does sit an inch lower, I think. Otherwise, they're the same exact bike other than that fairing. Now let's talk about what most of you probably clicked on this video to see or hear opinions on rather, is the wind deflection. Now that's another part of the great debate in the street glide versus road glide. And I will say the two of these bikes do handle the wind better than this one. Obviously the fairing is larger, so it's gonna deflect more wind. That doesn't mean that this one's not good. I thought this one did fantastic for the size, and I also love the styling of this fairing. So obviously the paint on this particular model helps it out. The lines kind of flow together, but you can see how sleek this is. And it was modeled after the FXRT or FXRP fairing. And a lot of people will argue that they think that design looks better than this one. I strongly disagree. I have respect for those two bikes, but I think this thing blows it out of the water. So one thing that's different about the Batwing fairing is how it's kind of carved out here. And I like that a lot because it's more open at the front wheel. So if you're doing like low speed maneuvers or there's obstacles you're trying to avoid, it's much easier to see the road down below than say your road glide here, which kind of blocks, if you're sitting on the bike, you see it blocks around the front of the wheel. Point of that is that this one to me offers a little bit more in the way of leg protection from the wind, not a lot. You still would need lower fairings or something like that if you want to fully deflect it, but I feel it down low more and I get a little more air coming over the top. Whereas on the street glide, it covers the two areas that are most important to me. It kicks the air over my helmet, so my helmet is not buffeting, as well as keeping the wind off my chest, which helps you with fatigue over a long riding day. Now, speaking of wind, let's talk ventilation, because on some of those hot summer days, there are times where you do want the air to come around and get to you. Now, on the Road Glide model, you'll have this vent right up here that you can also close. Now the point of that, I think, is to deflect rain from coming through. I've ridden in the rain multiple times with this and never had any issues with it open. And I honestly can't really tell that big of a difference in the buffeting in my helmet. I know a lot of people will disagree. That's just been my personal experience with this bike. Now you also have down here on both sides, these what I like to call nostrils. I'll show you from the front. You'll kind of see why. That let some air in through here. Now on previous Road Glide models, it had this same style little button. It was just kind of buried down in here and you could close these. That is no longer the case. Same thing on your street glide. So this is the only vent you're gonna have on the street glide, and you used to be able to close this. You can't anymore. I'm not really sure why Harley did away with that. I didn't find it that useful, but apparently a lot of people do. Now on your Lowrider ST fairing, you do have this big vent right here in the center. Again, riding this one, I think Harley did a really good job because I got no buffeting of my helmet. It kept the wind off my chest. You're also gonna see down here, just like with the Road Glide, you have these two slits down low. However, I've found that these two slits seem to direct the wind right down through this path and cool your engine, which is also very helpful in the summer because if you move some of this heat out of here, that's less heat on your legs. So in the wintertime, maybe not ideal, but in the summertime, very nice feature to have. Now originally when I had the idea to do this video, I was going to just compare these fairings, but I know a lot of people may be clicking on this hoping to get a little bit more information. So for those of you interested, we'll jump into that now. Which one of these bikes is right for you? Well, that's honestly a very loaded question. And if you're unsure, I would highly encourage you to go to your local dealership, get with a fit specialist, which is what Harley Davidson calls their salespeople, and tell them, you know, what kind of riding you're going to be doing, because it's going to depend on that. It's going to depend on your stature. In my opinion, it also depends on your experience level, just to make sure you're getting the bike that fits your needs and you're not buying the bike that you like the looks of the most. I know that's easy to do. I've been guilty of it myself in the past, but having a bike that's really nice to ride far outweighs just something that's nice to look at, but you never ride it because you don't enjoy it. Now, the Lowrider ST has kind of been labeled as like a mini touring bike. However, it is on the Softail chassis. So just like with cars, say you have, you know, a Cadillac, a little bit bigger, heavier car, more car underneath you, drives a little bit better, a little bit smoother. That's going to be your touring model bikes, which both of these are. Not to say this isn't a good ride by any means, but there is a noticeable difference over long stretches of road. So if you're going to like be doing like multi-state trips or just super long road trips, cross-country trips, I would absolutely point you in the direction of the touring bike. If you're just going to do more around town stuff, small, you know, 2-3 day trips, the Lowrider ST would be absolutely fine for that. However, when it comes to storage, depending on how you pack, I like to pack every single possible thing I may need, so storage is important. On these two bikes, your saddlebags are significantly larger, so you have a lot more room. I'll open them up just so you can see, because there's also a difference in the way that they open, which has an effect on how much stuff you can carry. So these are what are called the clamshell bags. And originally I thought they were gonna be too small for my needs, but when I was in California for a few days, this was my only form of transportation. And every day when I left the hotel, I put pretty much everything I own in there, not knowing what I might need for the day, and everything fit fine. So I think it's okay. You have these nets down here that kind of keep your stuff from falling out. You have the nice hydraulic arms. And then one thing I do really like about this bike is it's super easy to lock and unlock these bags, meaning to take them off. So literally you would just flip that little latch there and you can pop these bags right off and have a more sleek looking bike. So say you want something a little more streamlined, you're gonna be splitting lanes or doing whatever you're gonna do, that is a really nice feature, and this bike is designed to take those off and still look cosmetically appealing. Whereas on the touring bikes, we'll open those saddlebags up, let you see that. Still pretty easy to take off. You have two knobs instead of one, but you literally just rotate them until they loosen, and then you can lift those saddlebags up. However, cosmetically, these things are not designed to be run like that. You can, it just doesn't look that good. Now, Harley Davidson has the reputation of being a heavy motorcycle. I can't deny that. As far as motorcycles go, Harley Davidsons are pretty much at the top of the list when it comes to weight. But you're not picking that weight up off the floor. So say these touring bikes, you know, 860 pounds roughly, it's not like you're deadlifting 860 pounds. So don't let those numbers scare you. But again, going back to your stature, if you're a little bit smaller of a person and this bike feels a little bit more manageable, even if you're going to be doing long distance stuff, I personally would still recommend this one because you're going to be comfortable. Not just in the sense of suspension and stuff, but you're going to be comfortable in a confidence sense of the word where you don't have to worry about anything, because I've seen a lot of people on touring bikes and I watch them, you know, we're here at the dealership now. We have motorcycle parking right in the front, and I watch a lot of people back their bikes in, and they're kind of all over the place, and the weight's kind of imbalanced, and it's bad. You know, seen people drop bikes plenty, and it's not necessarily the weight thing. A lot of that, you know, can be fixed with some rider training. But again, if you're a newer rider or you're a smaller rider, I would lean towards the Lowrider ST if you want a fairing bike. Harley does make a lot of other good options in the Softail lineup, but as far as having a fairing from the factory, that's going to be one of your best bets. And then the last thing I want to touch on is your riding style. So if you like to ride more aggressively, I lean way more towards the Lowrider ST, and not just because it comes with the 117, whereas all your touring bikes currently come with the 114, but this thing is sporty, it's nimble, you're able to throw it around super easy. I never had any issues on my Street Glide, but I will say it was nothing compared to this, and I know there's going to be a few comments, there always is, well, Kyle Wyman rides a Road Glide. Well, you're not Kyle Wyman, and neither am I. That bike is also so far from being a Harley Davidson at this point, just with all the work that's gone into that thing. I mean, if you look at it, the seat is also gigantic. There's a lot of differences in Kyle Wyman's Road Glide and the Road Glide that we're talking about right here. So for sportier riding, definitely Lowrider ST. Long distance riding, I would do either of these. However, that doesn't mean that you can't do vice versa on any of these bikes. If you just want to do around town stuff, these bikes will do that. They also do your long distance stuff. If you do around town stuff but want to go on the occasional long distance trip, this bike would do that. So there's a lot of nuances when you're trying to decide which bike is right for you. Hit me up in the comments if you want to. I'll do my best to get to it and answer everybody's questions. But like I said, I would recommend you go to your local Harley dealership, sit on some bikes. If you have your motorcycle license, test drive the bikes. I would test, if you're between the three, I would literally ride all three bikes. And I think you will know after that which one speaks to you. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you in the next one.